afternoon, everybody, and welcome back to our latest rendition of Hawk Talk here on 91.7 The Edge, WSUW Whitewater, as well as simulcasted on UWW-TV. I'm Drew Best. I am the station manager. I am filling in as a host today for our very great sports director, Chris Pittner. Rest up, buddy. We're waiting for you back here at the studio. But alongside me, I got a pretty awesome crew for our first week. Zach, we got Sam, we got Alex and Carson returning from last year. We got Aust back there as well. We're going to get to know these guys right away. So we're going to start out here with Zach. Zach's just going to give us a little brief introduction about himself, what kind of got him here, and also what his go-to ballpark snack is. So, Zach, go for it.
So, hey everybody, I'm Zach. So this is my first year here at UW Whitewater. For high school, I went to McHenry West High School, and I'm a transfer student here at Whitewater. I went to McHenry County College for the first 2 years of college, and then I heard about, how I had the idea of majoring in journalism, and I heard how great the journalism, all the stuff here is, and I thought, yeah, I'll give this, thought I'd apply here, and then, and here I am. And my favorite ballpark food, I would definitely get hot dogs. That's me. I'm hot dogs all the way.
You don't like brats? Or I know you're a Chicago guy for that. You're a White Sox fan?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
all the way. I've been that way my whole life.
Yeah. It must be a rough season this year. But.
Yeah. One I would love to forget, that's all I'm going to say.
Hey, there's always next year. There's a lot of young pieces. You guys could still figure it out eventually. But
yeah, they'll get it together soon.
We can only hope. Sam, give us a little bit of information about yourself.
Yeah, hi, I'm Sam Dragolanis. I went to East Troy High School. Some of the favorite sports that I really enjoy watching, definitely number one would be football. Then I'd go basketball, then baseball, and then sometimes I'll watch tennis, just depending on I don't know, just like the major, like the U.S. Open or Wimbledon and stuff like that. I'll watch stuff like that. And then my favorite ballpark food, I'll go peanuts.
Peanuts. Safe option for people who don't have peanut allergies. I have a peanut allergy, so I do not typically get peanuts at the ballpark, but my family will. So it's a custom of the game, I think. So and if it's not ballpark, you could go to stadium and you could get peanuts. Peanuts are going to be everywhere. So sending it to the back, we got Alex.
I'm Alex, second semester here, as well as second semester doing the radio show here. I was transferred last semester from UWM, Washington County, doing a sports journalism as well. As far as sports I enjoy, Brewers shirt here represents that. Then I also have a Charger hat on. Can't tell because it's backwards, but those are my two main loves. Definitely football first, then baseball. But football is definitely tougher to watch sometimes. And then for favorite stadium food, I'd have to go with Miller Park. At least that's what it should be. And the different sausages, such as the racing sausages, an Italian, a Polish. The Tipsy Polish is a fun one. It's got tater tots and mustard on it. I like to experiment with wild things.
Well, I like that professional sports teams are trying to do the same thing. They're trying to experiment and step outside the box because you had the traditional ballpark food or traditional stadium food, and now they're just throwing all kinds of stuff on and seeing what sticks, and I'm all for it, honestly. So send it over to Carson.
Hey, I'm Carson Gabord. This is my second semester here on the radio. My high school was Oak Creek, and my favorite sports are lacrosse, football, and hockey. The ones that I mainly follow are either from Milwaukee or Seattle. And the ones that I played growing up, I played pretty much all of them. You name it, I probably played it before finding lacrosse. And my go-to stadium food is either nachos or pretzels. It's a toss-up.
That's a pretty safe bet. Do you like the soft pretzels or do you like the crunchy pretzels?
That's a great question. I think I'm gonna have to go soft just because moist pretzels, they just absorb the salt a lot more, and when you dip it in the cheese, it's just
Yeah, and the type of cheese also is very important
Yes.
too, because if you just got the basic bag nacho cheese, not very good.
Yeah,
but if you go to I know Lambeau Field they have special beer cheese made by some butter company, but it's really, really good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree.
You like that?
Yeah, I agree. To say once you said salt pretzels, I'm with you. They're the best.
Always a safe bet. Now we got Austin.
My name's Austin Gabert. I'm from Sheboygan Falls, and I played football, and I also ran track growing up. Got to say my favorite team is the Falcons. It's been really tough. The 28-3 jokes, I hear them all the time. It's horrible, but I watch a lot of basketball as well, and I would have to say my favorite ballpark food would probably be just a classic brat, just keeping it simple, but it's good. So.
That's safe. That's safe, and I think that's the first Atlanta we've ever gotten, at least since I've been here. Which we usually have a pretty diverse group of people who watch different teams. I know Alex is Chargers guy. We got a Seattle Seahawks fan over there in Carson, and usually we'll get our fair share of Bears and Packers fans. But we always like it when someone's outside the box. Obviously, after the comeback that you guys had on the Packers a couple weeks ago, not totally jazzed about that one. Still kind of a little messed up about it. I was crying in the club, but it happened. But anyways, I'll do a quick introduction. I won't be here every week. I'm just filling in for Chris Bittner. I'm Drew Best. I'm the station manager at 9170 Edge. I also do sports production for UWW-TV, and I get to call football games, which is pretty awesome. And in terms of sports teams, big Wisconsin sports fan, Bucks, Packers, Badgers, Brewers, pretty much anything under the sun, but I've been open to a lot of other things. I picked up hockey a little bit last year as a result of being on Hawk Talk. Started becoming a little bit of an Oilers fan. Unfortunately, lost a few bets in the postseason because some of my friends are Las Vegas Golden Knights fans, and obviously they kind of put the work on the Oilers. But so there's a new season, and we got a chance. We got Connor McDavid. We returned pretty much everybody, so I'm okay with that. I'm also a big Liverpool fan for soccer, so I joined before Mohamed Salah, so don't even call me a bandwagon. So yeah, I have to justify it. And then finally, stadium food. I gotta go with Austin's same thing. A typical brat, especially just at a ballpark, it's just super fitting. Gotta have ketchup, relish. If they have a secret stadium sauce like the Brewers do, you gotta throw the secret stadium sauce on there. And that's just the easiest way to go. Otherwise, like pretzels are good too. I like the pretzel idea. So, not peanuts. So that's the main thing. But now that we are fully wrapped up with introductions, we're going to move on to our first conversation of the day, which is going to be Riding with Rindahl. We are going to get into UW Whitewater football, who is off to another great start. This is the championship tradition team. They have a lot to prove this year, though, because there's a lot of changes going around. They have a new head coach, Jason Rindahl. They have a new starting quarterback in Alec Ogden / Jason Sonetti. Ogden got a little bit banged up, but he's also been used as a wide receiver because that's what he's done in the past. But despite all that, they've beaten 3 ranked teams right away. They beat John Carroll, they beat St. John's, and they beat Mary Hardin Baylor. They made Mary Hardin Baylor go 0-3 for the first time in school history. So a lot to get into and a lot of stuff to analyze. So first, I'm going to start with Alex. Alex, what have you seen with this Whitewater football team that makes them stand out?
I mean, thus far, I'd say it's been the run game. Their running attack has really been powerful. I mean, you look at the averages, 223 yards per game, 5.3 per attempt. I mean, having above 5 is always great in that regard, as well as 8 touchdowns on the ground compared to just the 5 passing. I feel has really established where their focus is on the offensive side.
Yeah, and you would think that they were going to air the ball out a little bit more, but you have a lot more returning and running backs, so you might as well stick to your guns and do what you know, right? So, anybody else? We'll go over to Austin. Austin, have you seen anything that you noticed during the start of the season?
Yeah, I think that they've looked really well being able to make check down passes and really, again, with the run game, I mean, they were able to get a lot of nice play action plays in and were able to just run over a lot of teams, and I think they look really good for the rest of the season.
Yeah, and they had a break this week because we were about to start. We had conference play, but really there's a lot that you can pull away from these non-conference games, and I think that the offense looked great. I think that our defense was stalwart in many scenarios. The one thing that you'll notice about Whitewater football is that if it's 3rd or 4th down in a short distance, most of the time the defense is going to get the win there, which is always a good sign. Sam, I know you've been to a couple of the football games. What do you think about the Warhawks so far?
Well, from the one game, from the St. John's game, I just they looked really composed to just even though St. John's got back into the game, and then I just felt then they just really, hammered it down and just, they destroyed them after that. Yeah.
Yeah, second half was absolutely electric. That was a close game in the beginning and one that everybody kind of had starred during that week because that was a matchup. St. John's was number 4 at the time. Whitewater had been ranked at number 9 at that point. And those two teams, obviously Whitewater coming off of a loss at St. John's last year in the opening game, but having them at home, getting a big win against them, and not only just winning, but dominating. Eight touchdowns in the game. Just absolutely tremendous atmosphere. I want to say it was the 8th highest attended D3 game in D3 history. So pretty awesome stuff there. But Zach, I want to hear your thoughts.
I just think their offense in general is like really showing how to stay consistent. You know, they're like no matter what, they're passing it or running it, they're really consistent on keeping keep the possession of the ball. You know, and then usually when I went to their home game, their first home game against St. John, I was just so impressed at how like they're just consistently like scoring touchdowns more than like just getting the 3 points. There's like that's me like touchdowns are way better than field goals. It's like, hey, 7 points is better than getting 3 every time. You know what I mean?
No, exactly. And I think that a big product of that is that they've really been sticking to their game plan. If you're getting in the beginning of John Carroll and of St. John's, they weren't able to get the ball moving as much once those teams started working back. But it would be easy for someone to just kind of be like, okay, that didn't work. Let's try something else. But no, those teams stayed persistent, and they've put the ball on the ground at an electric rate. Tamir Thomas, one of the toughest guys I've ever seen at the running back position. He can bounce outside at any point, and he can turn on the jets. It's been really fun to see. Carson, you're the only one that hasn't added in. Let's see what you got.
Yeah, actually bouncing off of Tamir Thomas, I mean, that Mary Hardin Baylor game, he went for 2 scores, 111 yards for only 23 attempts. I mean, that's just insane. And the running game in general, as Alex was saying, both the backup running backs combined for 53 yards, which, I mean, I would say that's impressive. And then going back to St. John's, Thomas racked up 180 yards on the ground and 3 touchdowns. And then in the air, he had a 15-yard reception that went for a touchdown. So, I mean, it's definitely clear that they're really utilizing Tamir Thomas this year, and I feel like it's not going to stop at all. And even just on the ground, they're insane. Like, they're almost double the amount of yards rushing than their opponents with 738 yards. And per attempt, they get 5. And per game, they get 223, which against their opponents, they average 110. So it's clear that they're just going to focus on the running game this year. And Cinetti only had 98 yards for 18 attempts against Mary Hardin Baylor, so they're really feeding it to Thomas.
Yeah, and they're over 425 yards per game of total offense, which is totally amazing to see. And to do that against a bunch of ranked teams is also a huge deal, in my opinion. But now we got to take a look at some of these defensive guys because they've looked great. Thomas Winowski already with 2 interceptions this season in both very big spots. Thomas Winowski really saved the game against Mary Hardin Baylor. They were running down the field. Warhawks were only up by 3, and Mary Hardin Baylor had the ball last with the opportunity to go and either tie or win the game. And they tried to go downfield, and Winowski read the play, and he's been great. He has 15 total tackles this season. Hawk Hefner leading the way with 23 tackles. He's been doing really well. He almost pulled out an interception in the St. John's game. Joey Antonetti has been playing very well. Kyle Kolblinger, he's kind of been a staple since he got here. Got a lot of time as a freshman. Not necessarily getting targeted as much, obviously, because people know how dangerous he is, but a huge playmaker and a very hard hitter. But we got to, first of all, after these 3 games, everything looks great, but now we get into WEAC play, and this is where things really get interesting because it's kind of widely recognized that the WEAC is probably the most difficult Division III conference for football and really for most sports. So digging into kind of what that looks like, there's only 2 undefeated teams left, Whitewater and River Falls. Every other WEAC team has had at least 1 loss already. But it's going to be really interesting to see. There's going to be a lot of big matchups this week, and really anything's possible. We saw it last year with Whitewater losing to Platteville at Platteville. We talked about that on this show, and we were kind of writing off the Pioneers, and we were proven to that they can get it done. And really anybody in the conference could show up on any given day, any given Saturday, and put in the work. So first up, we're going to talk a little bit about next week. So let's dig directly into this Whitewater versus Oshkosh matchup. It is at the Call Sports Complex in Oshkosh, and we're going to start with Sam. Sam, when we look at the matchup between this high-flying offense in Whitewater and this tremendous quarterback and group that Oshkosh puts together, what do you think?
You know, I still don't know what to expect 100%, but I think Whitewater will still go in and probably still come away with a victory. I think I'm pretty high on them now after winning those first three, versus ranked opponents. I don't really see them losing to Oshkosh, but I guess like anyone really truly can show up any given day. So I'm still gonna probably take Whitewater, but yeah.
Yeah, there was a lot of question marks that were not fully answered, but kind of trending in the right direction. Nobody really knew what our offense was going to look like with Rindal coming in and with all the other options that were presented and who was leaving, who was coming in. But we're kind of starting to see it really in full swing. But you also got to look at the other side. Kobe Berghammer already has 14 touchdowns in 3 games, and that is not something that you see a whole lot. We knew how good Kobe Berghammer could be, but 14 touchdowns as compared to 2 interceptions, lighting it up for 791 yards. Really has the team around him and the bodies around him to compete at a high level. Oshkosh off to a great start this season. Alex, what do you think?
Yeah, I really feel like Oshkosh isn't somebody that should be taken lightly by any means. I mean, they're definitely going to be a tough opponent throughout the nation. They're ranked, or Division III NCAA, they're ranked 20 out of the top 25. Obviously, Whitewater is up at 4, so there's still the disparity. You look at their schedule, their loss was more than a possession. I believe it was 9 points. But then they followed that up with a victory of 60-7 over East Texas Baptist, which kind of puts the Miami victory to shame. That's even a bigger margin of victory. But I feel like, as you had mentioned with the 14 passing touchdowns, their offense has only 4 rushing touchdowns. And you look at the Whitewater defense when it comes to scoring, they've been able to really stop the run tremendously, only giving up 1 touchdown, 110 yards per game. But then when it comes to the passing, that's where a lot of the scoring has come for the opponents with 8 touchdowns and 204 yards per game. So that'll be an interesting thing to see. It'll be weaknesses and strengths to some extent of like just how they want to try and dictate the game and how the defense forces them to dictate the game.
Exactly. And the other thing that not a lot of people will think about going into this game is the experiment of the Coach Bullis coaching tree. Because Bullis is gone, Rindal takes his spot. Guess who the head coach is at Oshkosh? Peter Jennings, former offensive coordinator at Whitewater under Coach Bullis. So it's really this clash that Jennings and Rindal had both seen as coaches in Whitewater, but now it's going to be put on stage in front of everybody else. So Carson, when you think about the dynamic that these coaches have and how well they really know each other and how they know football, how much do you think that's going to impact the game?
I've never really been a superstitious person when it comes to like, oh, he used to work for this team, he knows how it's going to go. I've never really looked into that, so I don't think that's really going to play a factor because maybe he had a different mindset going in, maybe he forgot, maybe they changed something. So, I mean, yeah, there's like that past chemistry there, and there might be a little bit of drama, but I don't think it's going to affect the game drastically. But what I do think is going to be a big factor of this game is that Oshkosh's run defense isn't really the best, I would say. I mean, they're allowing 101 yards per game and 22 points per game as well. So, I mean, it's not, like, terrible. It's not good. It's, like, middle of the road. But, I mean, with Tamir Thomas, I definitely think that we're just going to boost those numbers for rushes allowed.
Austin, what do you think?
I think our defensive line in this game is going to play a big part. I feel like our defensive line so far this year has done a really good job, getting pressure on the quarterback, and I think that's really going to cause Oshkosh to kind of be a little flustered and not really know a whole lot to do. And we saw our defense against St. John's. They were really good against a passing team, and I think we're going to continue to be able to do that, and Oshkosh isn't going to know what to do after that, and we're going to be able to come away with it.
Yeah, and that's going to be a big part with that defensive line, too, with this quarterback that they are about to see. Berghammer's only been sacked once all season so far. And that's not typically seen at this level, at least through any span of 3 games. And that's just a testament to how good he is as a mobile quarterback and a testament to how good the offensive line has been for UW Oshkosh, really just allowing him to create opportunities and go and score on certain plays where maybe if he had 2 seconds less of time in the pocket, probably wouldn't have made it happen. So that's going to be a huge matchup, is that offensive versus defensive line. But I think that the linebackers are also going to be a huge part of it, because Oshkosh plays pretty heavy on the tight ends as well. So I'm going to be really interested to see how they match up, if they go with linebackers or if they bring the safeties down. And if they bring the safeties down, is that going to allow Berghammer to go over the top? Will the kind of younger cornerbacks for Whitewater be able to handle that? Egan Hine, their team captain, their cornerback, still not active at this moment. That could change throughout this week. We're going to see very soon. But they've been holding out pretty decently without Egan Hine in the lineup, but they've also had their mistakes that they're naturally going to make. So we're going to have to see how that looks. But kind of just to wrap up, let's go around to everybody and just give us score prediction and why you think that's going to go that way. So we'll start with Zach.
So I'm pretty sure Whitewater will definitely win. But if I had to predict the score of the game, though, I'd probably say 42 to 17. 42 to 17, and it's going to be Whitewater all the way. They're going to come in to Oshkosh. They're going to come onto the field, put on a great show for the audience, and they're going to go walk off the field with a W. That's what I'm seeing.
All right, Sam, what do we think?
I think it'll still be close, but I'm still going to take the Warhawks 24-17.
Ooh, why do you say close, do you think?
Well, I still think it's still going to be a decent matchup, and I'm just not going to route out any team until I really see them play.
Just as a reminder, last year's matchup finished 17-3 Whitewater. It was a very low scoring game, but it was under the lights. It was a very fun game to watch. It was really cold though as well. That's another thing that I remember. So, Alex, what do you think?
Well, looking at it, I would say, look at the past games. Oshkosh has not scored less than, I believe 30? Yeah, they haven't scored less than 30 in any of the games. The Whitewater's defense is not giving up any more than 30 or more. And you want to know what? I'm going to probably lone wolf it. I'm going to go with Oshkosh. I'm going to say 35-31, because looking at the past for the Whitewater, their 2 road games were one possession, real close ones, and their home game was the big blowout. This one's going to be in Oshkosh. I feel like at some point it just kind of gives way.
The Whitewater fans are in shambles right now after that statement from Alex.
Just got to be contrarian sometimes, you know?
Got it. Hey, I like it. Add a little fuel to the flame. We'll revisit next week and see what happens. Carson, what do you think?
Warhawks 32-14. I mean, I've talked about them multiple times.
How do you get to 32?
Yeah.
What?
How do
No,
you
not
get to
the number. I was gonna say we've been talking about Tamir Thomas the whole time, and he's gonna make it 32.
Oh.
Because he's playing like Bijan out there, man. And their run defense, I've said it before, it's not that good. And just a fun fact, of the past encounters with Oshkosh, it's been loss, win, loss, win. Actually, so according to history, it may be a loss, but I still think they're going to win.
Hey, if history repeats itself, maybe. But Oshkosh has always been a pretty close contender with Whitewater. They were the first team to really knock off Whitewater in the WIAC Conference when they were on their huge 6 championship tear in the late 2000s, early 2010s. I remember that obviously as a resident of Oshkosh in my time then. So let's wrap it up with Austin.
I think Whitewater comes away with this. I think it's going to be a close game, 21-27. Whitewater comes away. I think early on in the game, Whitewater might struggle a little bit, being away in Oshkosh. You talked about the young corners. I feel like they might struggle a little bit, but I feel like they're just going to take a second, look at what's going on, make their reads and everything, and slowly pull away. And again, the comparison to Bijan, they remind me of my Falcons. And I really think the run game is just going to hurt Oshkosh. So I think we pull away with this one.
Yeah, man, you keep taking the words right out of my mouth today, Austin. This is my kind of take on it. I think that we really have struggled in the first half on the road. That's just been how it's looked so far. Oshkosh, high flying offense. I think that you also got to think about who could and can't be playing for Whitewater. You got to think about if Hine comes back. If Alec Ogden's in the lineup again, do they run hit with him at quarterback? Do they do some of the Wildcat stuff that they were doing against St. John's? Because really, when you take Ogden out of the game, you take a huge portion of your playbook out as well, just because of how versatile he can be. I think that this is going to be a high-scoring game, and I don't think it's going to totally blow up. I think that it will be something along the lines of 30-24. And I think that will go by way of Whitewater because I just think that they're going to, coming out of the weekend, I think that they're going to show up eager to get to 4-0 and to kick off the WEAC season because this is really their conference. And if you start 0-1, it's probably not going to be your conference for long. And I think that UW Whitewater has the team and the capability to do so. I think they also have the hunger to beat Oshkosh once again. It's a very similar team to last year for Oshkosh, and I think that Rindal defensively could have him picked out if he held Berghammer to no touchdowns last season. So that's my take on that. We're going to find out on Saturday what the result of that is, and that will kick off WEAC play for football. But until then, we're going to switch up topics. We're going to move on to some baseball. We're going to talk about Craig Tober, otherwise known as the Brewers postseason. Craig Tober confirmed the Brewers made it. They have officially clinched it. Their magic number right now is 1. They need to either win one game or let the Cubs lose a game, and they win the division. And this is something that the Brewers have not been a stranger to in recent time. What they have been a stranger to, though, is winning in the postseason. So, first of all, we just got to take a look at the season as a whole and talk about how we got here. So, we're going to send it over. We'll go start with Austin this time. Austin, what have you seen from the Brewers this year, just kind of top to bottom?
I mean, they're 88-68. The numbers don't lie there. They obviously have gotten it a little more together, but the playoffs do worry me a little bit, seeing their past, But I really think this year they could pull something together and just kind of finally maybe make a big run. So, yeah.
Carson, what do you think?
Well, to be honest, it's the same Brewers team every year. They look good, they look bad, they look good again, they look bad again. That offense just so inconsistent. It's some of the games I can't even watch. I really don't see them winning it all. In fact, some other experts have them at an 8.2% chance to win it all. I mean, I would say that's about right, but yeah, it's just this Brewers team, there's nothing really special about it.
Alex.
I mean, yeah, for me, going into this year and I guess like going throughout the season, I really haven't had the highest hopes. Next year, I think could be really exciting when everybody's got like the sophomore years and all the young guys can really like have their feet wet already and just run into the season. So that should be exciting to look out for. But for the here and now, like he said, yeah, it is always ebbs and flows of any given season. They started off a lot of injuries, had to use a lot of people or call up a lot of people. That worked out in the end. But I mean, even then, they've still just kind of, had their moments, had their losing streaks, their win streaks and such. But I don't know. I feel like tonight should be the clincher. I mean, if they should win, but they also struggle against bad teams, i.e. the Athletics and the Rockies throughout the season. But the Cubs also play the Braves. So surely one of the two results should happen. Hopefully a win at home. It'd just be perfect to really cap it off that way.
Man, it was so nice seeing the Cardinals take last place in the division. That was a huge thing for me because last year I went there on my birthday and the Cardinals clinched the division in American Family Field, or I like to call it Miller Park still. But they come back this season, and now, as long as the Brewers can pick up one there, they clinch the division. So I think that's just poetic justice at that point. Carson, you got your hands up.
Yeah, I just wanted to take a stab at the Cardinals game. I find this really interesting. 6-4 for the series this year, and within the last 4, it's 3-1. I would be shocked if they lose this. I really want them to win this game. I can't stand the Cardinals, so I had to say that. Just get a little bit of gloat out before I'm sad if we lose.
Going back to the birthday comment, my birthday is tomorrow, and I will be at the Brewer game again against the Cardinals. So part of me, yes, I made it to 22.
Happy
Great.
early birthday.
Happy early birthday.
Thank you very much. But main thing is, I would love for them to win tonight, but I think it would also be really awesome if they waited until tomorrow to win. So
Cubs also have to lose or win.
For one day, I might be halfway a Cubs fan, halfway a Cardinals fan, but tomorrow, bring in the noise. Don't you worry.
Guarantee it. Brewers will clinch the NL Central. I guarantee you they will.
You think it happens tonight?
Oh, for sure.
All right, why do you say that?
Well, I'm just saying right now, the last few games, I feel like, I wouldn't say last few games, probably the last week or two, they've been able to, get the ball rolling, winning more, But it does help though that Cubs, there was one point I think last week Cubs were losing more and they were Brewers were able to maintain just a comfortable lead over them. I think they're up by 6 games now. Because I remember it was crazy that just a few weeks ago, I remember the Brewers were 1.5 games ahead of the Cubs. Now look at the standings now. They're like 6 games ahead now. So I was like, hey, if they keep it going, win more often, or last, how many games of the regular season, they're gonna be just fine. But I don't know. I don't think that they're the best team in the National League. I mean, in the playoffs, I personally don't think they're going to get far, but hey, it's the MLB playoffs. Anything's possible.
I agree. Sam?
I just like the season as a whole, like it has been a bunch of up and downs. Like the offense has been very stagnant at times, and it's been really frustrating to really watch them. Like really the only main contributor, at least since All-Star break and a little bit before that too, was definitely William Contreras. I mean, he's been just an absolutely massive pickup for the Brewers. And, I mean, it's nice to see a little bit of a resurgence of Yelich. Not like MVP form, but he was close to maybe making an All-Star.
He's startable.
So, I don't know. Their offense just scares me at times. Like, obviously they can go off for, like, they had the 12-run inning against the Marlins on, it was either Friday or Saturday. I think it was Friday. And, I mean, they can do that, but it's just like, I don't know how consistent that's going to be, and I just think some more of the teams that they play. I mean, if they play the Phillies in the wild card, which is the most likely scenario, I just don't really. I know all the games would be at home, but I just don't know if I really would even. I'm a little worried still with just the pitching still, like, and I guess we'd go against Wheeler and Aaron Nola, so I don't know. It would just be tough.
And even that last wild card spot isn't totally. What are you doing to me? What is this?
You finish. I want.
No, it's your show. Go for it.
Okay. All right. Thanks. Yeah, like you were saying, their offense is really not that good. I mean, they're 23rd in the league, and their pitching somehow it's always so good. Like they're second in the league in pitching. I don't know why we can get on the defensive side so great, and then on the offensive,
No run support.
Exactly. Yeah, it's just terrible. So what I was thinking was like, who would be a viable trade person to get somebody such as Shohei Ohtani?
That's not happening.
That one,
We can't.
he would
I'm not saying him.
No.
I'm just saying somebody like him that can
Can't get
actually.
That's it. I'm
hit
in the
ball.
fishbowl right now.
Imagine if the Brewers actually did get Ohtani.
That would be electric,
That'd be like
but
their
they would have to
whole
give up.
salary entirely.
8% would go up to 10.
I think 8% would go down because of how much they would have to give up for Shohei Ohtani. They won't even pay him. That would be 60% of their payroll.
Exactly.
Ohtani is, before his injury, they were expecting him to make like $700 million over 10 years.
Yeah, I mean,
Like, it was going to be an
Bruce can't
insane
afford
contract, but he's not pitching until 2025. So that turned out a little bit better than I thought it would, because I was worried that he was going to be 2 seasons removed. But he'll be able to hit next year, and he'll be able to pitch the year after. So,
future Mariner.
yeah.
We'll see if he ever returns fully to
Here's
form.
my take on the Brewers right now. So, first of all, I think the biggest winner on the Brewers is GM Matt Arnold, because some of the moves that they have made this season, getting ready to like try and bolster this team, it's worked. I've been skeptical of every single trade they've made, starting with William Contreras. I'm like, is he a World Series winner? Is that a difference maker? And clearly he's been a difference maker. They go and pick up Carlos Santana. I'm like, well, that's a little hasty there. He's like 37, but he's brought a lot of pop in his bat. He's been looking very good. Mark Canha, same thing. I'm like, played on the Mets. Has not been great, but ever since you picked him up, he's been batting .350. So literally one of the best players in baseball since he's joined the Brewers. So that's been just really entertaining to see some trades that have worked out, because there have been a lot of times where we've been really excited about someone coming in and they just got shelled. So that's my first thing. Second thing, it's so nice having like a young, vibrant team once again, because I mean, we're kind of seeing it with Green Bay now as well, but like the youth is almost like it's really bringing the energy back, because last year team didn't really have any pop. They had Rowdy doing okay at times, Willie Adames here and there, but they didn't have like the young guys. All of them were still a little bit too far into the minor league system to pull up and justify starting right away. Carson, what do you got?
Yeah, I was just going to add on to what you were saying. It wasn't until Garrett Mitchell came in towards the end of the season where they started to like get a momentum, and then he was bringing that into this season too, and then he got injured, and yeah, when he comes back, that'll be big, but it's just a matter of when.
Yeah, and that matter of when is a lot sooner than I imagined, because as of right now, he's been playing in AAA. So I don't know what he has to do to get active for the postseason. If he can do that, if that's possible, I wouldn't hate it. I think that would be huge for us, because that means that Blake Perkins plays less games. So Blake Perkins, he was a big part of the most recent week or so, had a few home runs and did his part. But, I mean, I think if you compare him to Garrett Mitchell and how much upside we could have in the postseason, I think that I'd rather have Mitchell in the lineup if he's healthy. But, yeah, so those are the main things. But pitching, I'm going back to that 12-run second inning. That's the first time that Corbin Burns has had run security all year. Holy moly. Man, everybody's like, why does Corbin Burns want to leave? He's pitching, he's giving up 2 earned runs a game most times, and the Brewers are giving up 4. Or they're not even getting to 1. It depends. Like, that's just kind of how the trend's been for them. And I think that no matter how we finish this year, whether we win a World Series or not, I think that one of him or Woody is going to have to go on the chopping block. And if this is Matt Arnold, you bet I'm not going to judge any more of your trades. So if you pull something off, I'm gonna back you up for now. I'm gonna wait until you mess up. I hope you don't mess up, but I'm gonna wait until you mess up. But it's been great so far. So good work. We
We'll
love
have to
you.
wait and see. But I know with the offense being so stagnant and stuff, like, I mean, let's not forget, they did lose a no-hitter somehow. Like, they threw a no-hitter for, 11 innings and still lost the game?
That was embarrassing.
That's just pathetic. You can't possibly lose
And
that.
that's not something that you're going to get away with when you get into the postseason and you have potentially a matchup with the Dodgers, potentially a matchup with the Braves, potentially a matchup with the Orioles, or any other person in the dogfight that is the American League. I know that Orioles is a little bit hasty to say because of just how young they are, but think they're winning probably arguably the best division in baseball. You got to think about the amount of money that the rest of the teams around them in that division have spent to be good. The Yankees got eliminated 2 days ago.
I'd say the best division in sports, honestly.
You think
it's
it is?
In sports?
In all the sports.
Oh, man.
Man.
NFC South is pretty good.
NFC South?
Did you say NFC South?
Yeah.
What?
You're
Hold on.
kidding, right?
You said in all of sports, yeah. NFC South is pretty good.
With the Falcons,
Minus
the
the
Panthers.
Or the
NFC
Panthers,
West.
sorry.
You think that? Did you actually do you agree with that?
Okay, well, now I'm starting to change my mind.
No,
but-
I could name 3
Buccaneers,
divisions better than the NFC South.
Buccaneers, Saints, Falcons, Panthers. That's what you're taking.
Yeah.
That's the hill you're
That's
dying on.
literally the worst one in the
You know what?
NFC.
I'm gonna take it back now. I just feel attacked. All right.
Oh,
To
hey,
the NFC East or something. That's at
Oh,
least
that is a
somewhat
good
better.
one
That is a
too.
good one.
That is a good. It's always a toss-up.
I'd argue the AFC East. I think that you look
Yeah.
at the Patriots
Oh,
and
that
the
is another good
Dolphins.
one. That is another good
Yeah,
one.
a lot of people thought it was going to
Okay.
be
NFC
Chargers,
South
Chiefs,
just
and all
sucks
them.
now that I
Yeah.
think about it.
Yeah. Hey,
That was a bold take.
give it
Right.
4 or 5 years, and they build up enough draft picks. It could be interesting. But
Yeah.
I mean, Carolina Panthers. Joe maybe reminded me of this earlier. Carolina Panthers don't have a first-round pick next year. They gave it up to the Bears so that they could go and get Bryce Young. So sorry, Joe. Maybe I just had to throw out that subtle reminder. Hey, they've been talking you up on Hawk Talk, so I gotta bring you back down to earth. So, man, but. Anyways, getting back on topic, getting back to the Brewers. When we look at where they would stack up in the postseason right now, it looks like they're going to go in as the 3 seed, which means that they will have a wild card series. And it really, at this point, that 6th wild card spot has not been solidified. It could be the Cubs, it could be the Phillies, it could be the Marlins. First of all, you shaking your head, Alex. If it's not going to be the Cubs, who do you think is going to be in that spot?
It's not so much that I don't think it'll be the Cubs. I just think it would be great if the Brewers could eliminate the Cubs and just knock them out entirely. Not just take the division, but take away all their hopes and dreams in the process. I think that would be great. But I don't know, the Phillies, I guess, would be a solid one. It's just after that, when they lose, inevitably, it would just be oh, they're going to be representing the NL in the World Series because that's how it always goes for whatever reason.
Yeah, well, I think that out of all the teams I mentioned, I think that the Phillies are the least I'd want to see because they're just, if they get the offense going for 3 games, they could win that series. The Cubs, I don't even want them to get to the postseason. I don't want to even think about that.
Preach.
But then the Marlins, just got done with a huge series with them. That's the team I think that would be the easiest route out of all those three. And I mean, I guess it's going to be a matter of how these last few games play out, but Brewers just gotta stay healthy at this point in time, and they just gotta ride out. And then Craig Counsell, you're getting put to the test. Here's the game plan. Time to find a way to win in Milwaukee. And we already know that David Stearns is going to leave, which right now it's almost looking like Craig's going to be out the door as well. So now we got another opportunity for one of the greatest managers in Brewers history to prove himself, because he already has 700 wins for his career, I'm pretty sure. So, or I think it was 500. I just saw a graphic the other day, but
Has he won since like 2018 in the playoffs, though?
well, they got to the NLCS and then couldn't get past the
It's all been
Dodgers.
downhill
Yeah, there's been moments, but
moments.
now Counsell, time to prove yourself. If you can win here, and then if you think you can't win here, and then you go to New York, join the Mets. It's not all about the Mets. It's not all about the Mets, baby. It's just heinous out there right now, how bad they are. But hey, David Stearns thinks that he can turn it around, so
Well,
should be
cap room,
interesting.
so
But
actually play with
before we move on, everybody's going to talk about where the Brewers are going to end up in the postseason. So starting with Zach,
Wait, so you talk about like what seed you'd say?
where do you think they're going to finish? How do you think that they get there?
What do I think of players? Well, I don't know if they'll advance to the division series, but like I said, I think pretty much after the wild card they're gonna get out. But like I said 5 minutes ago, hey, it's the MLB playoffs. You know, anything could happen. You know.
Sam, what do you think?
I mean, I think they have a chance to make the NLCS. It just depends on how good the offense is. I don't know about the World Series just because they have to beat Atlanta and LA. I'm pretty sure no matter what they would have to play.
If the season ended today, they would have to get through at least the Dodgers and the Braves, or whoever beats the Braves.
And that's just like, that is such a tough I don't know. If they were to beat both of them, then I guess I would hypothetically give them a shot to win the World Series. But I could really see them, I don't know if I see them losing in the wild card, but I guess it all depends on the opponent. I guess I'd be most worried about the Cubs. For some reason, just Milwaukee, Chicago, it'll be interesting because then all the Cubs fans will come up there too, and it could be like there's going to be a lot of Cubs fans there, that's for sure. So it might not be an exact like home game for the Brewers, and I don't know. Chicago isn't necessarily hot, but like, they're not like they're still good. But I guess they've won like their last 3 or 4, and
After a really rough start to September, they're still below 500 for the month. So that's still pretty interesting to think about that they're still in contention, because they were one of the teams that was trying to knock off the Brewers a couple of games ago. But obviously, it's kind of just how it goes. Let's send it over to Austin. Austin, what do you think?
Again, we talked about how young the team is. I think that is not the greatest, obviously, going into playoffs, and their offense still remains a big concern for them. I think, honestly, I feel like if they do make it out of the wild card, I don't really see them making it out of there, but if they do, I don't see them go much farther than that.
See that? There's the first contradiction there. We got a wild card person. Carson.
So this actually brings me back to way back last semester where we talked about where they would land, and it was our hot take segment. I think Chris said that they were going to go win the World Series. That is so not happening. I think the furthest they're making, and this is being very hopeful, and this is with luck and power against them, the farthest they can go is the NL Championship. They physically cannot go past that. If they do, then it's rigged. But, I mean, yeah, wild card, sure. NL, no.
Cut the clip. We'll make sure that we get that posted everywhere. Gotta give it to Alex.
Yeah, I feel like if all plays well, I feel like their youth can actually work to their advantage. People may not, really be expecting them. A lot of young blood, a lot of guys excited, hungry to just have the spotlight and stuff, and see what happens. It's something different. Just see if that can change things around. But otherwise, I mean, if all goes well, if they can get the bats going at the right time, the pitching going at the right time, they can make the divisional, maybe like get to the game 5 or whatever, and then probably lose. But realistically, if history teaches us anything, if my history as a sports fan has taught me anything, they're probably just going to get swept, and it doesn't even matter.
Yup. That's the Wisco way.
Look at the graphic. It's Craig Tober, baby. It's Craig Tober. And I think that, I'm not saying the Brewers are going to win the World Series. That's not at all what I'm saying.
Craig Timber, honestly. Craig Tober really ain't it.
Actually, going back to what Carson was saying about when we were looking at the beginning of the season, I think that I don't even think I had the Brewers making postseason, if I remember
Yeah, I
correctly.
think that's right. Yeah.
I think that I either had them not making the postseason or losing the wild card, because at the time I thought that the Pirates were going to be the team to beat.
Well, that,
Yup.
But then
Yeah.
O'Neill
How'd that
Cruz
go?
gets hurt and you forget how to pitch.
Yep.
Things happen. But then, anyways, I think that the Brewers should make it through the wild card handily. I think it could go to a game 3, because I don't think that Brewers are like super cutthroat in that regard. I think they could make a good run at the Dodgers, and I think that they could beat them. I think that the difference that we have this year as opposed to past seasons is that anybody can produce off the bench, on the bench, on offense. We're not going to be consistently putting up 6 to 7 runs a game, but we're going to have people who can have pop in big moments. We have Santana with postseason experience. We have Canna with the postseason experience. It's going to make a huge difference having those explosive options. But then when we look at the next series against the Braves, I think that the Braves are the next dynasty in the MLB. I think that is so difficult. The way that they've handled their contracts, their development, top to bottom, farm system to the front office, I think that the Braves will be the best team over the next 10 years.
Agreed.
I think that they could win 3 to 4 World Series in that 10-year span. I think that this could be one of them. I think they'll win the World Series this year. There's nobody who's been able to compete at the level that they have. And the team that they have, Acuna, how many people, there's nobody that's ever had 40 home runs and 70 stolen bases in one season. I know that the rules changed, but the way that Acuna can turn it on and change the game, and the pieces that they have around them, the electric pitching they have, no one's going to beat the Braves. But I think the Brewers will come the closest. But that's my take on it. So now we got a quick move on to our final topic. Our final topic, dope or nope. What dope or nope is basically factor of friction. Am I overreacting, or is this a real thing? We're going to go over just a couple of NBA topics, and we're just going to kind of see how everybody thinks. These are going to be pretty generic, but I want to see what your insights are. And the other fun thing is they don't know what's coming at them. So I got them all 3 of them written down on here, maybe a special one if we have a little extra time. But the first one, who have I not started with? We're going to send over to Sam first. Sam, are the Miami Heat still title contenders?
The only way is if Damian Lillard gets traded there. Otherwise, they lost Gabe Vincent. I'm trying to think of. I don't know if they really lost anyone else, like the main contributors. But Gabe Vincent's the one that comes to me like right away, and I just think like they lost. I don't know who else they lost, but they definitely lost someone else too that was a part of the team. I mean, they still have Caleb Martin and Jimmy Butler. I mean, and just like I don't know. I think they still can be. That's only if they get Damian Lillard though.
With the team that they have right now, do you think that they are title contenders?
No, but they'll make the playoffs.
All right. Alex, what do you think?
I would just say yes, honestly, until proven otherwise. I feel like, I know culture is an often overused term, but I feel like with them, they are a lone exception in which like they just are always somewhere in the mix, and I feel like they're always able to beat teams that people don't expect them to beat, such as last year. And I feel like it's just until they prove that they can't do it, that they can't just always be in the title contention, I feel that we just have to believe that they're still going to be in it.
Just be quick before I'm going to send it over to Zach in a second, but I also am going to give a little bit of a hot take. I think that Eric Spoelstra is an overrated coach.
I think he's still got to be one of the best.
I think he's one of the best,
Taken
but
like the 2 finals
I think that
in like, at least after LeBron.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, well, see that's the. I think that it's a lot to do with kind of the team that he built. I think he's a great team builder. I don't think that he's a great coach, because you got to think about that team that he put together, the great 3, LeBron, Bosh, Wade. Got to be able to get it done in the championship. And I think that the way that they managed those games, in the Dallas-Miami Heat series, they couldn't handle Dirk. They had no game plan for him. And you look at the Spurs, they couldn't get through Tim Duncan. They couldn't figure him out. So he hasn't been able to coach against big guys. And if you have Bam Adebayo, I know that he's a huge defensive guy, but Is he going to be able to hold down everything while everybody else just waits on the wing? Because that was the team that they had last year. But now I'm going to stop rambling. Zach, you're up.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I would agree that Miami could be a playoff contending team for this upcoming season at NBA. I mean, look at them last year. I was they barely just made playoffs, and nobody even expected them to even be in the NBA final against Denver. So it's like, you know what I mean? It's just like, you know, like I'm pretty sure like if around like the time of the NBA playoffs started like last year, I'm pretty sure if I were to say right now that I predicted the Miami Heat were going to make the NBA final, all 5 of you guys would be looking at me like, is this kid crazy? Has he lost his mind?
It's like saying the NFC South is the best division.
Okay. I was thinking that they were still undefeated.
No, dude, we can't continue to bash on Carson.
It's only the first session.
It's warming up.
Just wait, give me like a month, and then it'll be acceptable.
Austin, give me your take. Is the Miami Heat still contenders for an NBA Finals title?
I think they could make a run again. I mean, we saw Jimmy Butler have the big points per game increase, and obviously he performed a lot better in the playoffs. And being a team that nobody really expected, I think helped them a lot to get into that finals contention. But again, without the Damian Lillard trade, and I don't think that trade is happening, I don't see them winning the finals. I could see them again fighting to make it into the finals, but I don't see them winning it again.
Yeah, I agree with you. Sorry. I don't know who was calling me there, but hey, should have just turned off my ringer. It's something you got to know after doing so much hosting. But
For sure.
yeah, Carson, real quick, do you think the Heat are contenders?
I want to say dope because they still have Jimmy Butler. If they don't have him, I think it takes them out completely. I mean, he's literally their only reason why they went so far. Guarantee you take him out, Bucks sweep. I mean, as long as he is there, there's always gonna be a chance. So, I mean, yeah, there's really nothing else to say about it. I mean, it's just the Heat with Jimmy Butler.
I'm going to go pretty quick. Dope or nope? I say nope. I think that everything else in the Eastern Conference is building around them, and they're going backwards. So I'm going to say nope and for the Miami Heat, which I know Alex doesn't like that one, but we got to move on to the next one. So Victor Wembanyama won't win Rookie of the Year. Does anybody dispute that right away? Does anybody 100% believe he will win it?
I could see Scoot Henderson winning. That would be like probably my one pick.
It's purely on health, I'd say. If he can play the whole
Yeah,
season.
I was gonna
Really?
say,
If,
yeah,
heaven forbid, something happens, then
word
obviously.
for word.
Austin, what do you think?
I don't think Victor wins it. We saw how he played in the summer league, and all the hype around him, I think it's getting to him, and I think it's going to affect him throughout the year. And we look at how skinny he is. If he goes up against a guy like Giannis, he's not going to be able to do anything. I mean, we saw him take 4 shots, and it's a young Spurs team around him. I think they're going to expect a lot out of him, and he's not going to be able to deliver any of it.
Man, not as much diversity as I was expecting. Zach, what do you think?
I would just say as long as, he stays healthy the whole season, he stays consistent, like almost every game, he'll probably be a true contender for this year's Rookie of the Year.
I think, well, first of all, before I give my opinion, just one word answer. If Wembanyama is healthy this season, does he win Rookie of the Year, starting with Austin?
No.
Dope.
Yes.
I'm going to go no.
Sure. Yeah.
All right. Well, here's my take. I think that if he is healthy, he still will not win Rookie of the Year. And that is because everybody's going to forget about Chet Holmgren. I think that you put him with Shea, you put him with Giddey, you put him with Johnson, you put him with the team that they have right now, the Thunder could really make a difference this year. I think that they're my wolf in sheep's clothing right now, and I think that if Chet Holmgren stays healthy, he's already been with an NBA team for a year. It could be the Joel Embiid effect. I think that Chet Holmgren is going to win Rookie of the Year, and I think that as long as he qualifies and plays the games that gets him into the conversation, he's going to do it. Like, that's the other thing, because they're going to punish people sitting out this year, so that's going to change the way that they look at scores. But very quickly, before we get into our final thoughts, final one. LeBron James is no longer a top 10 player in the NBA?
No.
No? You don't think he's a top 10 player in the NBA?
I think at this point it's just really all coasting downhill. I think he's just waiting to play with Bronny, and that's it.
Carson, what do you think?
I mean, I agree with him to an extent. I still think he's got stuff in the tank. I mean, he did just beat the all-time scoring record last year, and he is still a factor for the Lakers. I mean, personally, I don't like LeBron, so I hope he's not a top 10. But, I mean, it feels criminal to say that he isn't.
Austin.
I don't think he's top 10. We saw, obviously, throughout the past probably 6 years, all the load management and all the injuries that he's been sitting out. I think he's, again, a great player, but I don't feel like he is top 10 anymore. I feel like there's a lot of younger guys that can get a lot more done than he can now, and I think he's just trying to, put his final, footprint in the league as one of the greatest players of all time, but currently I don't think he's a top 10.
Sam.
I think I'm not gonna. I don't know. I think if he is borderline top 10, I still can't bet against him because every time I trash on him, and he's the best player that I've seen ever play. Personally, I can't really say much for Jordan and stuff, but until I see something differently, I still would have to say I think he might be just top 10.
Someone mentioned Jordan versus LeBron on the show yesterday, and they almost threw hands. So that was.
Oh, not
they didn't actually, but they were gonna go the whole show with it. But very quickly, Zach, what do you think?
Probably not, but I'm not saying that he's a bad player or anything. I mean, I feel like he still has a few years left in, and me personally, I'm not a fan of the guy, but I just feel like, to me, again, he's good, but still. But would I really say that today that he is a top 10 player? Absolutely not.
Man, last year I argued that he wasn't even a top 12 player. This year, I'm gonna argue that he's right around 9 or 10.
There you go.
The only people that I can say above him: Giannis, Steph Curry, KD, Jokic, Doncic, Joel Embiid, Kawhi. So I'm at 6 or 7.
I don't know.
I think I'm at 6.
But you were counting.
No, 7. I'm at 7. 8, Jason Tatum. Can't say Jimmy Butler's better. Can't say Paul George is better. Can't say Ja's better. Can't say Damian Lillard's better. Can't say Trae Young or Devin Booker are better. Yeah, I think he's 9.
Yeah.
Which I had him maybe at 14 last year. So
That's
Exactly what I was thinking with your rankings and everything. Word for word, what I was thinking.
It actually shocks me that he is listed as number 9 on there.
yeah, they had him at 7. So
Okay, that's a little.
that's a little high, but.
high.
9,
I think that's
is
too
perfect.
high.
Yeah,
Nine is
he's
perfect.
borderline.
Yeah. One thing that I do think could change, though, is if Jaylen Brown isn't next to Jason Tatum, where does he go? I think that if he plays on his own team, I think that he could make his case for a top 10 in the league. But that's all we're going to do for that segment. We're going to quick wrap up with our final thoughts. Everybody's going to have about 15 seconds to kind of just let me know what's going on with their life before we send it back. So we'll start with Alex.
I was going to say I got an inside report from a buddy. Through the first 27 career games, currently Justin Fields has worse stats in every category compared to Mitch Trubisky except rushing.
Carson.
So fantasy football sucks. I'm putting a bounty on the Rams and Bengals for making me lose this week. Seahawks play Monday night against the Giants. The Kraken start the NHL preseason 1-1 with both against the Calgary Flames. The Mariners are now 4 games behind for the division. It still continues to be sad timber for them. And the Astros, they play against tonight, and hopefully they can get their streak back to get in the playoffs.
Austin, real quick.
As a Portland Trailblazers fan as well, it has just been a pain watching all these Damian Lillard trade rumors and seeing that Toronto was one of the high things. I think if there is a trade, I hope we were able to get some good pieces for him and rebuild the team. But right now, it's been tough.
That's how Packers fans were with Rodgers. Zach.
Well, I'll say, as a Philadelphia Eagles fan, they were able to go 3-0 last night against the Bucs, so I'm happy about that, and hopefully looking forward to seeing them win more games this season.
Can't hate. Sam, what do you got?
I'm going to make a hot take for the NBA season, and I'm going to say after the season is over, Anthony Edwards will be a top 10 player in the NBA.
I like you. I like you.
Don't encourage him.
Sorry, I like that take. I like Anthony Edwards as a player. But now we got to wrap up. So we're going to send it back. Thank you for tuning in to Hawk Talk on UWW TV as well as 91.7 The Edge WSUW Whitewater. Time to send it back to some alternative music. See you tomorrow.